me what was one of the goriest scenes on the show?
The goriest
Yeah.
so far.
Okay. That you had to do. I saw the clip.
I had to pick up Natalie at the beginning of the season, all bloody. That was so gory.
That was pretty gory.
No, actually, I don't think I've done anything really like gotten my hands. You remember anything of that? I'm trying to think. You know what's been so difficult about this season for us is that we haven't filmed the episodes in order. We've been filming them all out, and I feel like my brain is so fried as far as trying to think about and remember even the order of things.
Yeah.
Can you tell me one
You
of the
know what?
coolest-
It's the crossover stuff. When you see what this bacteria looks like, it's definitely the crossover.
Yeah, I saw that one. That scene with the eating flesh.
Yes, I mean when you see that, that's like pretty gory. And I know that they're punching that up for the episode.
Yeah,
They're like
because
using a special effect, and it looks like it's like alive. I think I'm allowed to say that. I hope I'm allowed to say that.
What was one of the coolest places that you shot in Chicago? That was pretty.
This season
Y'all
so
are
far?
out in the city a lot.
We don't actually get out as much as the other two shows, which is why they all hate us because we're indoors. What is on this crossover though? Once again, that's the first time I got out of the city, because last year I was out at like the boat dock, and I was that was my favorite storyline I've ever had to play. You know, I'm drilling through a guy's head in a boathouse in a tux. Like, come on, that's hilarious. And it's on my wedding day. That's amazing.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So you're on the new key art, you're front and center. How do you feel about that new role?
Torrey.
No, Torrey.
Torrey.
You're talking to me.
Yes.
It's great. I always love our posters. I love what they do with our posters. Actually, last year's I wasn't a fan of.
And why not?
They left a big zit on my face, and I was not happy about it. I was like, I'm not a fan of Photoshop, but I was like, you guys couldn't have just a little
The one time you didn't Photoshop.
Seriously, the one time. No, but other than that, no, I always think they do a great job. I love
Yeah, that's great.
I like that there's a city background and stuff. It's great.
I didn't even see all these new things yet.
You haven't?
No, those look great.
Oh, because he hardly goes on social media, so where would he see it? Hilarious.
That looks good, yeah. Torrey, front and center. My girl. My almost girl.
How far ahead do you know what's happening? And would you prefer to know more than you do?
Yes and no. Sometimes I think so, but then sometimes I'm like, it's so good to just be able to focus on what we're filming at that moment, you know, because then if we get too ahead, I start mixing up storylines, and I think that I'm like, oh no, but that's next episode, and it gets a little confusing. So
Yeah,
I like the way it is.
I prefer not to know either. And as far as how much ahead we know, we just, when we get the script is when we get it. And sometimes we'll receive a script while we're filming the previous one, but you don't like to read yours until you're like done finishing the episode, yeah.
Is the medical jargon getting easier as you are doing this year after year after year?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
It's like a muscle.
yep.
It's like it doesn't take that, you know, once we hear a pronunciation, it's pretty easy to like pick it up after that, which I never thought I would be at that place with it. Did you? Because in the beginning it was so scary. And now to be able to go, how's that pronounced? And then say it a couple times, go, all right, got it. Like,
Yeah, I
I'm like,
know.
how did that happen?
Well, and we have such a foundation of stuff that we say all the time, and now I don't even. It's like it just when I memorize the lines, I'm like, oh, that's already in me.
Yeah.
I get it.
I know,
It's like,
I know
wow,
most of
that's
it.
cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am a doctor,
Yep.
basically.
When you get a script, like, say the one for the elevator scene, and you're going to be deep in it, and it's bloody, and you're doing this, do you ever look at that and go, holy crap, how am I going to do this? Or do you just go, I got it?
Sometimes I look at things and I go, holy crap, how are they going to film that? But for me, I always trust that, like, even if it seems daunting, I know we do it in pieces. So I'm like, okay, we'll figure it out on the day. As long as I know my intention for the scene and, you know, how I want to show up and I know my words, I trust that, like, blocking and the director and, like, the camera angles and all that is going to take care of the rest. Because if I started thinking about the rest, then I would really get swamped, because that's so out of my job. And I'm like, I can't even worry about that stuff.
That was pretty gory though. You had to put your hand in that.
In his chest.
In his chest.
I know, that felt really weird too when I was doing it. I was like, ooh, and I kept looking down and I was like, can you feel this? And he was like, no. I was like, woo, this is fun.
Well, you said one time that blood doesn't really bother you, but anything that's pus related does.
Yes,
Is
and
that
when
still the same?
Absolutely. And when he threw up in the elevator seat, you can even ask Jesse Spencer. I did almost gag. I went, and he go, you okay? I was like, ooh. And so it kind of became like the scene on screen and off screen became the same because Jesse Spencer was like, you all right? And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, all right, action.
That's actually great when it works out that way.
Yeah.
Well,
I actually think there's a patient that I have in one episode, and I think it's later even after the crossover. You've never seen this type of patient in the hospital. I can safely say that of this type of person and what they believe about themselves and what they believe themselves to be. That's a pretty good tease, right?
It is.
Okay, because I don't think I'm allowed to say what it is because it really does give it away.
One of our show reactions, I watched the show, and you know, everything is with special effects. One episode I seen, you guys is trying to save a patient's life, and they constantly bleeding, and everything is kind of gross, but do it ever like really like affect you? When you do these scenes and they're so sad, or somebody's dying and it's bleeding, you try to save somebody's life, you know it's acting, and you know when you act, you have to go there in one of your energy.
Yeah.
Do it ever make you sad and feel like, man, you know, how do you feel sometimes when you have to do those type of scenes?
We were talking about this recently, and I was talking about it with my therapist. Actors have to be okay with the little abuse on themselves because your mind makes sense of why you're redoing and
Trauma. You're bringing up trauma. Basically.
Yeah, and we do it over and over and over. So you get to see it once and like a bunch of. But we film that. Anytime someone that's come to a set, a visitor that's never been on TV set, they go, "Well, I didn't know you did that so many times." And you got to do different angles, different sizes. And so at the end of the day, my therapist said the best thing you can do for yourself is meditate and just kind of get rid of that residue because your body doesn't know why you're kind
Your
of
body is
forcing it to do
reacting
it.
as if it's a real fight or flight situation, but your mind understands it's not. But you know, when we have fight scenes, I'll look and I have like hives on my chest and stuff from being upset. So your body is actually, your nerves and your stress are actually working as if it's a real situation, which we do that almost every day to ourselves. So it does take a toll on your mental being, even though your mind knows it's not real. Your body still is reacting.
Yeah, an actor needs to have self-care exercises that they need to do, and I think it's important to do them before you go into work and then right after.
Do you like it when you get out of the hospital and like get to not wear scrubs and go to like an event or something
Yeah.
on the show?
Yeah, it's fun.
And the crossovers really are the only time we get to see the rest of the cast and the franchise, and so they are my favorite part of the job for sure.
Well, just for you guys, I mean, obviously you guys had a massive cast transition this past season. What was it kind of like going into episode 2, which was like really the first episode without Colin and Norma? What was it kind of like trying to find your new normal and figuring out what the show was kind of like?
Well, I mean, offset, I'd say more so than onset for he and I, because I didn't get to work with, I think I worked with Norma like once, and I hardly got to work with Colin last season. So not so much onset. Onset, it feels like everything's pretty much the same because I see this one every day, and that's the way my life has been for the last 5 seasons.
You're welcome.
But offset, luckily Norma's still in Chicago, so we've been able to hang out. I mean, you definitely feel the absence of Colin and his wife here in Chicago, so I'd say more offset than on for us.
Yeah, because they were almost like they were on a little island by themselves in the OR,
Yeah.
surgery, and that's just how we're split up the show, like ED, psychiatry, and surgery.
Yeah.